Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Stepping Up to the Plate. I'm your host, Michael Vega. So glad you could join us here for another scintillating half hour of sports talk here on Milton Access TV. So glad to be joined on the day, as always, by my main man, Al Prizzuti. And Al, so much to get to here with a confluence of events here with the, I think, the end of the Red Sox season. I think for all intents and purposes in Houston, they've crash landed there. And then, of course, the Patriots getting ready to ramp up, having completed already 2 preseason games with a third and final game to come here this weekend against the Tennessee Titans in Nashville. And some drama playing out there. We'll discuss that. And, of course, you know, the end of summer, start of fall sporting event that usually grips the entire world. And and I'm not talking about NASCAR. I'm talking about the U.S. Open tennis tournament. We had an interesting primer, I think, in Cincinnati in the men's final there between Novak Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz, the young Spaniard. And of course, we had the Women's World Cup come to an end. Spain now, España, arriba España. Here we go, baby. They win and they beat England. And of course, some controversy and drama surrounding the celebration there, Al, but we can discuss that too. But I think our launching point here should be the Red Sox. And, you know, they go to New York, they do what they're supposed to do. They sweep the lowly Yankees, the downtrodden Yankees. There's much to be excited about. Luis Urias with 2 grand slams in consecutive at-bats.
Yeah. First time it's happened since Jimmy Fox.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, and you figure, all right, they're coming out of New York with a little bit of momentum. They're closing in on the wild card. And then, of course, they go down to Houston. And Houston, we have a problem with the Red Sox. They have just crash landed in Texas.
Well, the real problem for the Sox is, you know, they're down in Houston. Then they come home, they play the Dodgers. Then they have to play Houston again here at Fenway. And last night and the night before were, I think, a snapshot of what this team really is.
Yes.
I mean, they're not even to me, they're not, if they make a wild card for whatever reason, they'll go out quickly. Because last night was a great example. They had 3 errors, 3 monumental errors. It was 3-0. Verlander was unbeatable last night. They weren't going to hit him, but
he was gettable. He was gettable.
I mean, 3-0.
He put some traffic on the bases.
Right, you put runners on, and somebody hits a 3-run homer. And the Sox have guys that can do that in the game, but it's 3-0. And then the pitcher throws a ball to Story at second base to get the runner. Could have been a double play. He threw it left. Right of Story, almost on the left field side.
Yeah.
I thought Story should have had it, but they gave the error to the pitcher. Then on a ground ball to second base, the runner's coming down third. The runner throws the ball to home plate, and they called it safe, but it wasn't a question of safe. I think the umpire forgot.
Yeah, and that's another issue too we'll address, but go ahead.
Yeah, but now the throw comes on the first base side.
Yeah. If
a runner's coming down third, you got to throw it on the third base side so the catcher doesn't have to catch the ball and then spin around and do it. So that's a fundamental mistake. And then Abreu, rookie, first game, right field, runners on second and third. He throws at the time, runner on third. He throws the ball trying to get the runner at home plate who was going to be safe. And he throws it 5 miles over the catcher's head. The runner on first goes to second. The runner on second goes to third. Second and third, next runner up.
Oh, you got to throw the cutoff.
Singles.
You got to throw the cutoff there.
Singles.
Yeah. And
2-run score.
And now you're down.
and they scored 5 runs on 3 errors.
Yeah.
The Red Sox have committed 90.
Unbelievable,
errors.
90. And you know how Chris Berman would describe this Red Sox defense? He'd use 3 words: bumbling, stumbling, and fumbling.
I know. I'm saying. I mean,
Al, it's like unbelievable that this defense has committed this many errors. The most in the National League. I mean, not just the National League, the American League, Major League.
well, you know,
And it's 2 years running now that they've had issues with it.
I'll tell you what it is. With Major League players, when a ground ball is hit, and Sturry's a good example because he's been playing good in the field. He hasn't been able to hit, but.
Yeah.
When the ball's hit to him, you go, he's got it, no problem. With the Red Sox now, you hold your breath on every hit.
Especially when it's hit the third.
Well, Dev is struggling.
Well, he's trying to stylize. He's trying to be too stylistic. You know, just be fundamental. Yeah. There was one, I think, in the opener, the loss they had, where he took a hot shot to the corner. If he would have just fronted it and just, knocked it down with his chest or something, or, got in front of it. But no, he got to the side and did his Matador type defense and tried to catch it on the side, and it got past him into left field. Runner goes all the way to second.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like unbelievable.
Now, what's his name?
Alex Cora is beside himself because he's the guy who gets up there at the end of every game and he takes all the arrows for the teams. For the team's miscues, he says, it's on me. It's on me. And you know what's going to happen at the end of the season? It's going to be on him.
Well, it's going to be on him.
And they're going to say, you know what? We've had this problem for 2 years running. We can't fix it.
Had they played fundamentally good baseball, this team would have at least 10 more wins.
10 more wins, yeah.
And they just don't have it. And, it's really sad to watch because this isn't difficult. They watch a catcher. Now, the kid, I think Wong, I like the kid because he can hit, he can run for a catch. He don't look like a catcher.
No.
But he got on a couple of plays, I think the night before, he took the ball, he didn't cover the plate, but he went to the ball, which you can do.
Yeah.
Because an umpire could say he blocked the plate, the guy couldn't get in. But if the ball comes down this way or this way and he's on this side, he can go to the ball. He covers the plate fairly well. Right. I think he blocks shots the way a catcher should. In other words, you get in front of it and let it hit your front, not try to backhand a ball.
Correct.
Because it always gets by you.
Right.
So, but short of that.
And they're not hitting out right now.
Well,
I mean, they bump into a couple home runs here and there. Obviously, New York, I think, was more of an anomaly.
Yeah, well, I think the Yankees are, the Yankees right now are a team that have lost everything, their identity and everything. What the Red Sox, though, if you can't beat the muscle, and this is the muscle, meaning they had Verlander last night, and the night before they had, what's his name? The kid from them. Anyways, not going to hit
Christian Javier.
Yeah, not going to hit these guys. Yeah. And that means when you get to the playoffs, you're only going to face the top pitchers.
The top three.
Top three. And the Red Sox.
You're not going to see the back end of the rotation.
But it's
you may see the back end of the rotation coming out of the bullpen.
If you're a real baseball fan, though, and I've been for 70, 60, but I don't want to say it, it's hard to watch.
Yeah, it really is, Al. And, and lost in this is that the fact that they're getting a little bit healthier. They got Tanner Houck back. Tanner Houck battled.
He didn't look too bad last night.
He battled. He tried to keep him in the game.
Yeah.
He did his best to keep him in the game, but they didn't support him with any run support. Mm-hmm. And so, when you have a guy out there, who's trying to tug the rope and no one's tugging with him, that's a demoralizing thing, and you could see that. And then you see, I think the frustration starting to percolate in Cora when he runs out there after one of his players gets run out of the game, Verdugo. Then he gets out there arguing a borderline strike call. Yeah, well, it's a borderline strike call on Justin Turner.
He wanted to get kicked out of the game.
I think he was more defending Justin Turner because Turner had been out there grinding in that at bat. Yeah. 10 pitches. And, Justin Turner is a guy who does not let a good pitch go by him. He does not.
He's been the best.
He's been their best.
Consistent ball player all year.
One of the silver linings in this season. And the thing is that he gets out there and you could see all the frustration just come pouring out of him. And he even admitted as much in post-game interviews that it was frustration.
I think,
and you know what? It's frustration with the defense, the lack of offense, the fact that they're not getting calls, the fact that their umps are squeezing their pitchers a little bit, and you can see that, and that their batters are having to go up against an expanding and then contracting strike zone.
But the script is being written now, and you can tell what's going to happen. The Red Sox will fall out of it, and then here's what the script will be. Yeah, we had a lot of things happen to us this year. We had Sale coming back. We had Story that was hurt. Our farm system has gone from here to here. Now, that's the farm system. This is what Chaim Bloom is noted for. This is what he did with Tampa Bay. But that's going to be the story. Wait and you see what happens now. And forget this year. Well, nobody's going to forget this year. Not at Fenway when you pay top dollar
for a mediocre
to sit there
product.
and watch the Woo Sox.
A mediocre product.
Basically, you're watching the Woo Sox.
Well, Al, we'll soon be rid of our nightmare at Fenway, and it'll be, well, it already is football season. And the Patriots now, as I mentioned, 2 games into the preseason, and an extraordinary thing happened, scary thing happened when in 10 and a half minutes remaining in their second preseason game against the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field, there was a scary collision between Calvin Munson, a linebacker, and a rookie cornerback, Isaiah Bolden, who was hit in the head by a knee from his teammate. So it was friendly fire that he absorbed and immediately went to the ground, laying motionless there. And I think people had a frightening flashback to the scene where Damar Hamlin lay prone and stricken on the field in that game against the Cincinnati Bengals, the Buffalo Bills. And for a fleeting moment, you were concerned about that. And the reaction by the Patriots medical staff was swift. And I think the reaction to, and here's where I want to give credit to somebody. I want to give credit to Bill Belichick, because he had the welfare of his players first and foremost on his mind. And I saw it happen in real time as he convened with Matt LaFleur, the coach of the Green Bay Packers, as his player was being tended to. And then he called over Matt Slater, which is, one of his team captains, and said, look, we're gonna call this game. I think we should call this game. And so they convened, they all agreed, and they called the game, which was the right thing to do, I think, because the players were visibly shaken by what they were seeing. And I think they too were, having these nightmarish flashbacks. And it gives rise to the question now is, how important are these games really? They're important for the rookies. They're important for those guys to go and show out. These kids are going to go do whatever they can possibly do to make a roster, because now, today, as we speak, the Patriots are cutting their roster now down from 90 to 53 and making the decisions on who's going to be on their practice squads.
I just look at it this way. If you want to go back to the kid at Buffalo and
Damar Hamlin
and last game with the Patriots, it's a contact sport.
No doubt. And they'll sign up for it.
In both of those situations, the hits did not seem that bad. One that was hit to the chest, okay, that's almost like a
sternum shot,
a reaction to getting hit.
A blunt force trauma, and I think the energy.
And that's why they wear pads. It just was a bad situation for that kid.
Yeah.
Last game, when I watched that, I watched 115 times. When he went down, he didn't move. You knew he got hit in the head.
You're worried that it's a neck injury.
Well, that's the only thing you worry about.
Right.
But he came to. As
soon as I saw his legs move a little bit, it was a reassuring thing.
I didn't think his was as bad as. Well, obviously it wasn't as bad. They brought him to the hospital, and he was released. He came back with the team.
Right.
So, but I understand
the precaution.
I think they did the right things.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, these things are going to happen, and none of those things were a situation that, like Darryl Stingley. I mean, that was a nasty hit.
Well, that's because at that point, if you remember in the league really didn't protect anybody.
Yeah, well, those guys
that's
what the Oakland team was noted for. Yeah,
headhunting.
Headhunting.
Yeah.
So, You know, and sports is all sports. I mean, the NHL has moved away from hitting
With the
and
crown of the
fighting.
helmet. Yeah.
Because they just they think they got the sport without it, okay? The hitting should be in the game. It's a contact sport. Football, hockey are contact sports. Basketball and baseball, somewhat basketball is a slight contact, but not as much. And baseball clearly isn't.
Yeah.
But, you know, crowds want, this is Colosseum in Rome type thing. People want to come to a stadium and they want to see action. That's why soccer will never be as popular in the United States, as football.
But you know what, though? I think that there's still a global popularity. I think it's more nationalistic.
It's national because that's all they have.
Right.
But here we've got 4 sports other than soccer, and people in this country, except for the newer people who have come in from foreign countries, don't buy it as much as the rest of the world. So it's going to take a longer time, and it might happen. It'll take a longer time, and it's not violent.
Yeah.
It's really athletic. I mean, you put a pair of sneakers on, and you're running back and forth. I mean, these guys are magicians with what they can do without using their hands.
Yeah.
Grabbing the ball.
Unbelievable. And you know, the thing is that Al, I will agree with you. It's a violent sport, and they know what they're signing up for. Yeah. But now I think the league recognizes that they're on the road to obsolescence if they can't protect their players, because there's going to be more and more, or less and less of a pool of players who will be growing up playing the game, and then coming and rising up through the ranks to play in the league.
I think the league's doing the right thing of policing dirty hits.
Yes.
Hits that can cause
there's going to be
injuries that a player can't come back from.
Right.
You know, but the other stuff, that neither one of those two things that happened,
I think
you can't police.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that happened in preseason that gave rise to some optimism about this this upcoming season is the arrival of Bill O'Brien as the offensive coordinator. We've seen this offense kind of take shape. We've seen how Mac Jones has kind of flourished a little bit in those series that he's had. But the one concern right now is the offensive line. That still seems to be, I think, a matter unresolved right now in Foxborough. I think a matter of great concern. And then I think one way they tried to address it, or tried to address two things too, was to bring in Ezekiel Elliott. Yeah, which was a great get, I think, a great get for them. Smart. Because you have a capable running back who can back up Ramondre Stevenson. He's capable as a pass catcher and in blitz pickup.
Yeah,
so you have a guy who can at least help block.
Yeah.
And you know what I saw in that game against the Packers where, you know, Mac Jones was in a collapsing pocket? He stepped up into it. Yeah. He kept plays alive, and he kept, you know,
Mac Jones is thrilled that they got Elliott. The other thing that Elliott's 28.
Yeah.
He's not old.
He's not old.
I mean, he might have a lot of mileage on him, but 2 years ago, the kid was the top running back in the league. So I think the Patriots did the right thing there. I think the only thing that I've seen so far, and preseason to me is only to watch guys that you've never seen, because it doesn't matter whether they win or lose.
Yeah.
But it's afterwards in the talk that I hear that we haven't heard, I say we, meaning the audience, is players are saying that Mac Jones is a different player this year. Yeah. He's more in control.
He's excited.
Now that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Now we'll see whether that translates into action.
I don't think, you know, I think the Patriots did him a disservice last year by installing Patricia as the offensive coordinator.
We'll see.
And I think that stunted his growth. You know, second year, I think he would have been, you know, marginally better than his rookie year.
But
if he would have had a consistent offense, he would have been that much better the second year. And this year, he would have even more recognition.
He doesn't get rated very high, though.
He's had to learn 3 different offenses.
No, I understand that, but I think all things considered, people look, and the people who know, the people who are watching him, don't place him even in the top 20.
You know what?
For teams, I'm talking about teams.
Right. But you know what? I think his teammates have.
He's got a lot to prove. If he doesn't make it this year, he's done.
And you know what? And I think the Patriots have done their best, their level best, to put some weapons around him.
Yeah, we'll
You
see.
know, they got some decent, they went out and got Mike Gesicki, the tight end out of Miami. They got Ezekiel Elliott. They got, Juju Smith-Schuster.
I think they're going to surprise people. I think
they
their
could.
defense is good.
The defense, Al, bingo.
The defense is good, and if the offense clicks, meaning, they come up with the plays that they need to come up with.
And guess what happens, Al? You start playing complementary football.
Yeah.
That's how you win games, man.
I mean, nothing wrong with winning 21-17, 21-14, 14. There's nothing wrong with
Counts
that.
as a
And that's
win
what
at the
this
end of the
team
day.
is going to have to do, because I think their defense is going to keep them in games.
Yes. And it's going to be incumbent upon the offense to possess the ball, score the ball.
Right. On a couple of things before we switch. Messi.
Unbelievable, Al. He's taking the MLS by storm.
Yeah, but he was with the team now that was floundering. They said the worst team. He comes in, he's scored about 195 goals in 4 days. I mean, and they win that division, that little championship there that they had.
God. I love him. I love him, Al. Last
He's
World
no
Cup.
kid.
No, he's not. But boy, he goes through everyone like a hot knife through butter.
It's amazing.
He's amazing. And the last World, the Men's World Cup, I was rooting so hard for Argentina, and I so did not want to see France win, but and it's like you could see the passion in every Argentinian in the stadium there in Qatar there, where they were like rooting hard for their people, and just the passion and the roller coaster of emotion, the torrent of emotion that came out when they finally won it. You could identify with that. And I think we saw that this year in the Women's World Cup, with Spain and England going at it. And obviously the controversial finish there where the Spanish president of the Spanish Soccer Federation, I think, getting over exuberant in the celebration, grabbing Jenny Hermoso around the head and like planting one on her lips, was, I think, a little an awkward situation. He owned up, he admitted it was an error on his part, and but now people are calling for his head.
Yeah, well, they'll probably get married in about 6 months. So
Who knows?
anyway. Now,
But what did you think? I mean, I became a fan. I love Sweden.
I'll tell you what it is with
they
soccer.
played the game beautifully. That's the thing.
Why it's so emotional. Hockey and soccer are very similar in that there aren't a lot of goals scored.
Right.
So when somebody scores a goal after 67, or I'm throwing 67 minutes out there, that could be it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And hockey's the same thing. I mean, you're watching a game, it's nothing in the third period, and you go out and get a cup of coffee and come back, it's 1-0, you miss the game.
You did.
You miss what you think could be the game. But as a little seg to watching as you mentioned, the Cincinnati tennis match.
Yes.
I would say watching that
Was it primer to the
Carlos
World Cup,
Alcaraz.
U.S. Open final?
Well, it could be because Alcaraz and Djokovic are probably going to be the 1-2 favorites. They're rated
Top
1 and
seeds.
2 coming into the U.S. Open. But in watching that, you're talking about a 20-year-old up-and-coming superstar, because I'm going to say superstar because everybody feels he's got all the tools. He is unbelievable in terms of
Coverage.
going from side to side and making great shots.
Drop volleys.
Djokovic has also got some unbelievable court sense,
Yeah.
but he doesn't have the power when he gets to those shots to do what Alcaraz does. Well, what he does do is he figures out a way.
Yeah.
And watch that match. Think about this.
He's a crafty shot
Alcaraz
maker, I
is
think.
20.
Yeah.
Djokovic is 36 years old.
Yeah.
The match went 3 hours and 48 minutes, almost 4 hours in high 80, high humidity conditions. Think about that. A 36-year-old man playing for 4 hours and then coming from behind to win.
Yeah.
That's what he did. I was impressed. I don't think I've ever seen a more intense match that right up until the 3 hour 40 mark, you didn't know who was going to win.
Right. You knew that it was going to go full 5.
So think about that. Every shot that you make, if you make a mistake, you could be out of it. You could lose.
Against those guys, yeah.
And watching the thing at the end, Alcaraz was very emotional about it. He had his brother in the stand, and he was a little tearful. And then for Djokovic to say, my brother wasn't here, but I love him. And then he said, this match here showed me that I felt like I was playing Nadal.
Oh.
And that made Alcaraz feel really, I think there's some friendship there too.
Well,
but,
you know what? Game recognizes game, Al. And for him to make that comment just puts the air beneath his wings, you know. And you know what? That's a gracious thing by Djokovic.
Well, I think what Djokovic is saying here is, if he wins the U.S. Open,
yeah,
and it's going to be 1-2 between him, and everybody's going to think it's going to be an Alcaraz Djokovic again, and it might not be because there are other players that are pretty good. He might then say, "Look, this is it for me."
Djokovic.
Because this kid. This kid's the kid, and I'm not going to be able to run around at 37, 38 years old and beat this guy.
How old was Roger Federer when he had to retire because of his knees?
Yeah, I mean, he had some injuries, but what the interesting thing about Alcaraz is a little different. He's like Nadal in a way. They're clay players.
Yeah.
Then they get around the court, they slide in this. When they get on hard court surfaces like you had in Cincinnati and that you'll have at the U.S. Open, Djokovic then becomes a little more the favorite because
I think it's a harder surface.
Well, much
more
higher.
More pounding on your joints, your knees, your ankles.
He lost Alcaraz one match to each of the last three players that he played. Hurkacz, the kid's got the biggest serve in the game.
Oh, yeah.
He took the first game, Hurkacz. He almost took the second game. The longer it goes, a guy like Alcaraz is going to just wear you down. But on a hard surface, a kid like Hurkacz could beat Alcaraz because he's got a better serve.
Yeah.
And on hard surfaces, that's what it is. It's serve.
And it's on the women's side of the U.S. Open draw. I don't know. I mean, it's like a wide open field.
I'm upset with the women's side because of the Halep thing. Simona Halep she's had this thing about some drugs that she took, but I mean, there's everybody who said that it was a medical thing and it was, and she can't play in the Open. She's one of the best players. I don't think that they handle the women's side of tennis correctly.
Yeah.
They don't pay them the same for winning.
I think that's going to be something in the new bargaining agreement that they're going to, I think, rectify, and try and
hey, you got to give Venus.
Equitable.
You got to give Venus Williams credit. I mean, she's no kid either. She's up there. Her sister has retired. Her sister took over as the reigning.
Well,
Williams.
Venus stepped away last year.
Yeah, and Venus played a couple of matches in Cincinnati very well. I mean, she can still play.
She's not going to play at the U.S. Open this year.
She might.
Wow. I thought she stepped away. She had that big. Remember, she had that big swan song at the.
No,
it was like that match.
No, that's what's her name?
No, that was Venus.
I know Venus did the same thing, but Venus is a different type of player. She doesn't have the power Serena had. I mean, Serena was the best server in the game.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Powerhouse.
But anyways,
powerhouse. But yeah, so it's going to be interesting, Al. As I say, the confluence of seasons. Bruins will be on the ice soon. Celtics will be, convening, getting on the court for preseason workouts. Milton High football is already out there at Brooks Field, getting ready for the start of the new season. We're going to endeavor to maybe pull together something for you guys. So we hope that you'll be able to enjoy that in the near future. But at any rate, that's going to do it for us. I want to thank my main man, Al Prizzuti. I want to thank you guys for taking the time here, Milton Access TV, and enjoying our show, Stepping Up to the Plate. All righty, everyone. We'll see you next time. Take care.